Good morning, class. My name is Mr. Anderson, and we're going to be going over the topic of wind turbines today and the pros and cons of each of those. Any questions?
Mr. Anderson, aren't wind turbines good because they produce good clean energy?
Yes, they do. They produce clean energy by harnessing the wind power, and that can produce clean energy through the turbines that then transfer into the power grid systems. And so it helps reduce climate change and any kind of pollutions being sent in the air due to cool type factories.
What about the land that they're built on? Don't they take up a lot of space?
They do. The wind turbines themselves do not take up a lot of room, but the wind farms they're located on do take up a lot of agriculture room because they have to be separated out in order to harness the actual wind power. And so that can disrupt the climate of certain wildlife.
I heard that can be noisy. Is that true?
Yes, community members have reported increased noises due to the wind turbines because whenever they're spinning and generating their electricity, they create vibrations and humming noises. And so that causes some debate and arguments about having wind turbines near any kind of nearby communities.
Where does the money go? Can it help the local communities out?
Yes, any kind of rural communities that don't have grid stability electricity can use wind turbines, and so that would help with the community members harnessing that electricity, and also any kind of work jobs or workforces can be used because community members can help repair those.
Does it cause any harm to the birds or other wildlife?
Initially that was a concern, but actually it doesn't because the developers of the wind turbines study the migration paths of birds and any kind of wildlife in the area, and so they ensure that no wildlife is going to be harmed whenever they're building these wind farms.
So, Mr. Anderson, what do you think the future is for wind turbines?
I think it's looking very bright, actually, because there's many technologies being developed for these wind farms, such as increasing the storage capacity of their batteries whenever they harness wind power. So that will help with any kind of whenever the wind isn't blowing. And then also the efficiency of them is being improved upon, and the cost, reducing that in order to make more farms and make them more cost effective. So basically this discussion here that we've gone over today, class, is that we've gone over the pros and cons of different wind farms and how these turbines may have some controversy surrounding them, but at the end of the day, they are actually a positive in our communities because of them harnessing clean and renewable energy compared to other hazardous ways of getting electricity, such as coal plants. So I'd like to thank you all for your questions, and that concludes today's class.
How do you feel about green energy overall?
I think it's a good thing. I think we should implement it a lot more. I am seeing more efforts recently with it, so that's good. I just think it's kind of difficult sometimes with costs and whatnot, but overall I think it's good. We should try to do it more.
How would you feel if somebody decided to build a wind turbine in your town or near your house?
Well, and where I used to live, I think that it would definitely be a good thing. Mostly because, I live near a small city that has a lot of outdoor space. There's places to put a wind turbine. I think some people might not like the way it looks, if you could see it from your house or from a skyline. But I think that it's important to be able to find more renewable resources, especially for places that have a lot of energy usage. For somewhere around Pittsburgh, I'm not sure if it would work out, but I'm sure that there are places where it could be. I think that could be efficient.
So the last time we had a power outage was actually maybe a few weeks ago, and a large population of Pittsburgh had that power outage. So I was coming home later that night and was driving to my house near Sharpsburg around Pittsburgh, and I noticed that all the lights were out everywhere as I was driving. No street lights, no nothing. Called my wife and said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "Yeah, the power's been out since about 5 o'clock. And so we're very lucky in that everything turned out okay, but it was out for about 12 hours. And so the impact it had on just everyday life is all the food in our refrigerator going to go to waste. It was a heat wave actually too. So we had to move down to the basement to sleep that night because we couldn't really sleep. Then we started thinking about, is our cat going to be okay? Then we started thinking about more kind of serious things. It's if this stays out for so long, what does that mean? So then uncertainty really crept in after about, 6 hours of that. what do we do if it's out for days? Are we gonna have to go to a hotel if we have the opportunity to do that, if we have the finances to do that, things like that. Yeah.
Green energy is more risky overall than our current forms of energy generation like fossil fuels and nuclear energy since it has lower availability. Assuming that you agree that it's an important societal goal to move to renewable energy, how do you feel about this trade-off? From the perspective of a healthcare worker, is the risk of more power outages worth the benefits renewable energy brings?
Yes and no. If it's going to make my job harder, no. But I guess at the end of the day, if it's going to help the planet, then yes, if that makes sense. I guess it's kind of hard just because, you know, we care for so many patients and our job is so based on our computers, so we can't really lose anything. That's the problem. And when we do lose stuff and it comes back on, we have to back chart everything too, so that takes time away from patient care as well.
My name is Aiden Gresco, and I am a computer engineer major.
I'm Ethan Crosby. I'm a computer science major.
And I'm Katie Fitzpatrick. I'm a political science and psychology.
So for the second case, we studied wind farms. So we looked at the state of security, cybersecurity for wind farms. There's not a ton of information so far because there haven't been a ton of documented attacks on wind farms. So a lot of what we researched were hypotheticals and potential vulnerabilities.
I believe engineered controls due to the fact that our simulated attack scenario had basically implementing like locks and stuff like that on the wind turbines and trying to lock out people and keep it more secure than what it was originally.
Yeah, we also investigated interdependency evaluation because one of the vulnerabilities that we found in our research was the ability to communicate from one wind turbine to another, which could allow a worm to propagate across an entire wind farm between turbines. So one of the ways that you can address the vulnerabilities of the interdependency, one of the ways you can address the vulnerabilities that the network creates. So currently, wind farms are usually set up using a ring and daisy chain topology, which means that the wind turbines are connected in these ring networks, and then those ring networks are connected together and then back to a control room. So one way you can mitigate the risks that are posed by that is by creating more centralized network topology so that there's no ability for the worms to propagate from turbine to turbine.
I think that there's definitely improvements that can be made for environmental protections in the communities, but the economic benefits and also just generally having them there doesn't create a terrible environmental impact. So I would say that they're good for the communities.
I believe it will because we've gone over the positive and negative, as you said, the positives and negatives. So I think that'll add a broader spectrum of how they could help communities, but also could hinder them depending on where they're located.